Alright, my little math friends, we are moving on to our next lesson. This is the second part of lessons 1.1 and 1.2. We're going to be adding integers, same thing we did before, but this time using some real-world problems. So basically some word problems. Alright, we're going to be adding integers in word problems. Okay, not a lot of people like word problems, and I can understand. I mean, they're confusing, they're hard to kind of work with, but I'm going to walk you through these, and we'll see what we come up with for some answers. And all of these problems that we're going to work, the good thing about them is they are all addition problems. Okay, we're going to look at some keywords out of those keywords that I gave you in that handout that kind of go with addition, so that we can get used to seeing addition problems and some keywords that will indicate that we are going to do some addition. So let's take a look at our first problem. The first one we have a football team loses 12 yards in one play. Okay, so they made a play, it didn't do so good, they lost 12 yards. And they did another play and they lost 9 yards. Okay, it tells us they lose 9 yards in a second play. Alright, and what we are trying to find out is what is the total number of yards lost. Okay, so this is an addition problem, and our key word, it has a really good key word for us that tells us it's addition, is this one right here, the total. Okay, that tells us that this is going to be an addition problem. Okay, that's good news. We already know what we have to do. We have to add these two. But now we have to decide if these numbers are going to be positive or negative that we're going to add. Alright, so let's take a look at this first part. It tells us we're losing 12 yards. Okay, now if you lose yards, that's not a good thing. That's actually a negative thing. So that's going to make this a negative number. So we're going to start with a negative 12. And let's take a look at the other number we're working with. This one happens to be another loss of yards. So if you're losing, you're going backwards. Backwards is negative. Alright, so that's also going to be a negative 9. Okay, so we have our two numbers. We decided if it's positive or negative, and now we're just going to add them together. So let's take negative 12, and we're going to add negative 9 to find out how many yards they lost. Here's our problem. We're just going to use the same rules that we used in the last lesson. Both of these numbers have the same sign. When they have the same sign, we add like normal. So we're going to do that, add like normal, that gives us 21. And our second step is we give the answer the same sign as the numbers. Both are negative. So let's make that answer negative, and then let's label it yards, because that's what we are working with. Okay, so after the two plays, this team had a loss of 21 yards. Alright, there's our first problem. Let's take a look at our second. Alright, our second problem, this time we have a submarine, and it is at a depth of 40 feet below sea level. It dives down 57 more feet. What is the location of the submarine now? Alright, so we need to figure out where the submarine is at now below the sea. Okay, so let's start taking a look at these numbers. The first thing that we have is the submarine is at a depth of 40 feet below sea level. Okay, so a sea, how sea level kind of works, just to review, let's say this is the top of the ocean. The top of the ocean is at a 0 sea level. Okay, anything under the ocean is below sea level. It's going to be a negative number. And anything above the ocean, like land and mountains and everything, those are all positive numbers. We call that above sea level. Okay, so this submarine, it's where it belongs. It is underwater, which is a good thing, and it is 40 feet below sea level. So this is going to be a negative 40 because it is below 0, a sea level of 0. All right, and then there's something else that happens. It is at 40 feet below sea level, and it's going to dive even deeper than that. It's going to go down 57 more feet. Okay, so if we have a submarine right here, and if it's going to go down deeper, it's going to go even further down. So that's going to be a more negative numbers because it's going down. So this is going to be negative 57. All right, because it's going down 57 more feet. Okay, so there's our two numbers. We decided if they're positive or negative. We already know that this is an addition problem because that's the chapter that we're working on, the lesson that we're working on. And this, if we didn't know that, if you were looking at this problem trying to decide if you were going to add or subtract, multiply or divide, we don't really have very strong words in here that tell us what to do. Sometimes we have really strong words to tell us what to do, sometimes we don't. But we do have one word that's going to help us out a little bit. So take a look at this one. We have the word more. Okay, so basically we're getting more of something. We were at 40 feet below sea level, and we're going to go down more. Okay, so if you're getting more of something, that's a good thing. That's like getting more cookies. Like if you have 5 cookies and you're going to get more cookies, then you're a happy person. So that's the word that's going to tell us it's addition, because we are adding more negative feet to get the submarine down at a lower sea level. Okay, so we're going to set this problem up. The submarine was at negative 40. We're adding more feet down. Okay, it's going 57 feet more lower than it was. Okay, so we're going to add these two together. We're going to go to our rules of adding integers. They're both the same, so I'm going to add like normal. That will give me 97. And then my second rule says we give the answer the same sign as the numbers. Both these numbers are negative, so this is going to be negative 97. All right, there's problem number 2. Let's take a look at problem number 3. The table shows the temperature for the last 4 days. Okay, here's our table here showing us the temperature for all 4 days. What is the sum? Here we go. Here's a really strong key word that this is addition. Sum is a dead giveaway. All right, what is the sum of the temperatures? Okay, so this problem is asking us to add up all these temperatures for each day. So that's exactly what we are going to do. Let's start with the temperature for day 1 and the temperature for day 2, and let's add those together, see what we get. Okay, negative 5, adding negative 13. Alright, using our rules, they're both the same, both negative, add like normal. It is 18. Okay, second rule, give the answer the same sign. They're both negative, so it's negative 18. Alright, there's the first 2 days added together. Let's jump over to day 3 and let's add negative 2 to the negative 18 that we have already. Okay, same rule as before. We can add those together like normal. Give it the same sign, they're both negative, negative 20. Okay, we're doing great so far. We have one more day to add, and that is day 4. So we're going to bring negative 7 down here. And we're going to add negative 7 to the negative 20 that we have. Add those together. Just like normal, they're both the same. We get 27, and it's going to be negative since both those signs are negative. Okay, there's 3 examples for you. Let's take a look at the try this problem. Okay, here's your try this problem. See if you can work this one out on your own. Decide if those numbers are going to be positive or negative. and then add those together since it's an addition problem, and see if you can find that keyword that tells you that this is addition. Alright, give that a shot, pause the video, and then hit play again. Okay, now that you got your answer, let's check this out. The football team gains 26 yards. Okay, if you're gaining something, that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. So this is going to be a positive 26. And the second play, they're losing. Uh-oh, they lost some yards. So if you're losing yards, that's not a good thing. You're going backwards. That's negative. So the 11 is going to be a negative number. And we already know this is addition, but our word that tells us that it is going to be addition is total. Alright, total is our really strong word that says this is going to be an addition problem. Okay, so we're going to add this up. We have positive 26 plus negative 11. Alright? So to add these two, we have to use a different rule because these two numbers are different. One is positive, one is negative, so we're going to use the other rule that we learned about in the previous lesson. When they're different, our first step is to subtract. So we got to take 26 minus 11, alright, subtract those. That will give you 15. Okay, we just did the first step. The second step is we want to make the answer have the same sign as the number that has the bigger absolute value. Alright, so absolute value, remember that means the furthest away from 0. So which of these numbers is the furthest from 0? It's going to be 26. 26 is a whole lot farther away from 0 than negative 11. This one has the bigger absolute value and it's positive, so our answer is going to be positive. Okay, 15 yards. Alright, so after their two plays, the total number of yards they have is 15. Okay, that's our lesson. Word problems for adding integers. We will see you in class and we will work on this assignment together.